Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk about the 3 nutrition anchors that make the biggest difference in midlife motherhood. And today I'm really thinking about the most simple nutrition support we can offer ourselves as midlife moms in perimenopause that promote vibrant health, emotional stability, and hormone balance. And more than anything, anytime I'm talking about nutrition or lifestyle changes, especially with women and especially with moms who already have so much on their plates, the main thing that I care about and that I'm thinking about is how to promote a vibrant, rich, supportive, and healthy relationship with our bodies. Most women that I know growing up in Western society have been told their whole lives about what their body should look like, have been told what they're supposed to be doing to achieve and control and change their bodies to fit a culturally acceptable ideal. And I like to fight against that as best as I can at every turn. So at the heart of this conversation is not about an endless desire to lose 5 to 10 pounds. It is not about a lifelong investment in feeling like your body is wrong and needs to change. It is about feeling a deep and embodied and empowered connection within ourselves. This body is the one relationship that we will have our entire lives. It's the relationship we have had starting at birth, and it will be the one that outlasts every single relationship. I'm really invested in making this relationship with our bodies feel really close and connected and enjoyable. And that is not usually the words that most women use to describe their relationship with their bodies. It's much more about feeling uncomfortable or feeling ashamed or feeling dissatisfied or feeling like self-conscious and that our body needs to change in some way. So I hope you'll join me in flipping the script. I think that midlife motherhood is the perfect time to embark on this new relationship with our bodies. So starting in your late 30s and definitely in that 40th decade and beyond, there are 3 body systems that are shifting all at once. They're the systems that support your muscles, your metabolism, and your gut microbiome. So the 3 nutrition anchors have to do with supporting those systems so that we feel strong, capable, have a balanced energy, start to feel more at home in our bodies as they're evolving and changing. And that helps the neuroendocrine shift that occurs in this season of life that influences our feelings of anxiety, reactivity, fatigue. We want to get that brain and gut and hormonal health to be elevated as well. And nutritional support is a powerful lever that we can pull when we're talking about supporting metabolism, supporting muscles, and supporting that neuroendocrine hormonal experience that we're all having in our bodies. So these 3 nutrition anchors don't just support your physical health, they'll help to stabilize mood, help you regulate your stress response, and support kind of an emotional well-being or resilience. Before we dive into these 3 anchors, which are probably going to be shifts for you, are going to require a little bit of investment, a little bit of planning, and maybe a little bit of a shift in your mindset and how you're approaching your nutritional support on a daily basis, I want to talk about how to implement first. In this podcast, I'm only going to give you a tiny little bit of implementation support, but I think it's so important rather than as moms endlessly consuming information about how we're supposed to do things better, how we're supposed to do things differently, how we're supposed to add even more onto our plates. I want to try to combat that fatigue and overwhelm that can come with wellness and lifestyle and nutritional information. So I want to talk a little bit about implementation, but my friend, at the end of this episode, if you're like, okay, I know what I need to do, but I need support in implementing it, that is where the Vibrant Mom Collective comes in. Hop into that year-long mentoring program. I will give you all the implementation support you need. But for today, I want you to think about these 3 little tips that will help you implement these 3 nutritional anchors. The first tip I want to share is, of the 3 anchors, I recommend that you just pick one at a time to focus on. And it doesn't have to be like you focus on that one until you get it perfect and then you can move on to the other. I think it's more just like focus on one for a week or so and then maybe focus on another one. Just give yourself a little bit of room to play around with these concepts, and little by little, you can get some traction in all 3. So just pick one after today to focus on first. The second implementation strategy I recommend that you try on is, after you've picked the one, I want you to think about just observing yourself for a week. So with one anchor in mind, just don't make any overt changes. Just observe how it's going and start to collect some data on yourself without making any changes. That lets you know kind of what your normal baseline is. And then week 2, you can just try to elbow your way out a little bit of room to start to put into practice just one of those anchors. So if you're to follow these implementation guidelines, it would take you maybe 6 weeks to play around with all 3 anchors. Let's give each anchor 2 weeks of space. Week number 1 is just observing what the current status quo is and starting to take some notes on what's happening. And then week number 2 would be trying your best to add in a little bit more intention to get toward your goal of implementing that nutrition anchor. Now, if you're anything like me, from like week 1 to week 6, so many different things are going to happen. Maybe a kid is going to get sick. Maybe you get sick. Maybe you go on vacation. Like I was just on vacation last week and now the routine is totally out the window. Or maybe you're starting new sports in the spring if you have school-aged kids, and that schedule needs to get massaged out a little bit. All the kinks need to get worked out. So really important in midlife motherhood that even well-intended perimenopause advice, when it's delivered, it can sound so simple and straightforward, but it's actually not if you're a parent. It can take a lot of work and a lot of starts and restarts, a lot of grace, a lot of compassion for ourselves as we have good intentions, but life tends to be unpredictable and demanding. So go easy on yourself. See this as an invitation over the next several weeks to start bringing your relationship with your body to the forefront. Think about when you were introducing foods to your little baby and how like you charted it, right? Probably you made a list of the foods that you were going to introduce and how long you were going to introduce them, and think about the love and care you gave to that process. Or maybe think about the first time you sent your kiddo to daycare or to school and you lovingly packed their lunch and all their snacks with the foods that you would know that they would like and also would have some nutritional value for them. Remember all that care and intention you gave to your little one. This is your invitation. Midlife is the big wake-up call, asking you to give that same love and attention to yourself, to this precious relationship you have, you with your body. So you're going to pick one at a time, and you're going to give yourself a week just to observe and collect some data, and then you're going to give yourself a week to try to do a little bit more for yourself. Even if you're not meeting the goal completely, you're just doing a little bit more for yourself. Let's not over-focus on perfectionism and like meeting the goal perfectly, but just moving in that direction. Let's just take a few solid steps in this direction together. So the 3 anchors that I'm going to give you for your nutritional strategy this year, we're going to start in April of this year, have to do with protein intake, have to do with fiber intake, and have to do with plant diversity. I want you to remember it this way. Protein protects your muscle, fiber supports your hormones and your metabolism, and plant diversity rebuilds your gut. supporting both your hormones and your mood and energy and nervous system. When you're working on getting all three of those anchors in, you're working with your biology, you're working with where your body is at instead of against it. In this midlife season, all three systems are shifting at the same time. Your muscles, your metabolism, your microbiome. So we're going to try to support all three. If your Instagram algorithm is anything like mine, you are getting inundated with nutrition advice. You're getting inundated with images of women lifting weights and hitting their protein goals. It's really intense sometimes, but robust space of information. And I like to try to just simplify things and make them generous and kind whenever I can. So getting as much protein as is recommended might be really difficult to do in this season of your life. But if you were to think about just increasing your protein, we're talking about anchor number one, every single day, that would be a really good start. So you could just think about not going crazy with the protein, but no, like just getting more of it in. But my friend, this is actually a sub-therapeutic recommendation, but I recommend that all midlife moms have the goal of trying to bring in 100 grams of protein every day. I know that's a lot. It's actually not as much as many health experts would recommend, but I think it's a good goal. It's a round number to think through together. The reason why we want to do this is to protect your muscle, to support metabolic health, and for some hormone resilience support. One of the biggest benefits of bringing in more protein is it preserves your lean muscle mass, which declines faster in perimenopause. The reason why that is that as estrogen declines and fluctuates, it accelerates something called sarcopenia, which is just a scientific word for muscle loss. And this is even more pronounced if protein intake is low. And most women in midlife are getting maybe less than 30 grams of protein a day. When I poll women when they're doing that first week of just like noticing and tracking how much protein they're getting in a day without making any changes, it's usually around 30 or less grams of protein a day. And that's less than a third of what I'm recommending that we all get. So this is going to be a big change, but it is such an important one because higher protein intake helps you to maintain muscle, keep your strength, your physical strength, and get your brain working and having the highest capacity it needs. So if you've been feeling off, low energy, brain fog, increasing your protein intake will help significantly with that. So protein is about muscle, but it's not just about muscle. It's about staying strong and capable and metabolically healthy as your hormones shift. Many women that I talk to notice that their body is recomposing in midlife. Like you became pregnant, you had your children, and then you had a postpartum body that you were getting used to and learning how to support. And for every woman, it's like a different amount of time. And then your body goes through another big change, which is the onset of perimenopause. And often there's a midlife weight gain or body recomposition that happens that can be a little bit uncomfortable or just unexpected for women. And so what we want to do is see that as our body requesting that we make some changes to our nutritional strategy to support our metabolic health and our insulin sensitivity. And so when we take in more protein, we're really investing in our muscle tissue, which is metabolically active. More muscle means that we've got more metabolically active tissue in our bodies, which helps with so many things, but we want it to help us with our insulin resistance, our fat redistribution, our glucose control, and our metabolic flexibility. So adequate protein helps us with all of those things. one last note about that first anchor, which is to increase your protein intake to 100 grams a day, is that it will really help with stabilizing your blood sugar throughout the day. To get that much protein in, you need to be eating frequently. And this usually represents a change for most moms I know. Most moms aren't eating until mid-morning or midday, and it's really difficult to get 100 grams of protein in if you're waiting that long to eat. So this is a shift. This is asking you to start to nourish your body deeply and intentionally from the very beginning of the day. This will stabilize your blood sugar, which will reduce mood swings and anxiety, which will signal safety to your nervous system and improve your relationship with your body. Your body knows and trusts that you're going to be attentive to it, that you're going to be generous with it, and you're going to give it high quality nutrition in order for it to do its job for you as best as it can throughout the day. If this ends up being the anchor that you choose, working toward getting 100 grams of protein in every day, what I would recommend you start with is getting 50 grams of protein in before your workday starts. So we're trying to get to half of your goal before you even get to work. I find that once I'm at work, it's very difficult to invest in the things that I want to do for myself afterwards. It's kind of like the train leaves the station and it just takes off from there. So if you can get in 50 grams of protein before you even start the bulk of your day, you're going to be set up for success. The way that I do that personally is by taking in 20 grams of protein through my second cup of coffee. I do a protein coffee. It's like an iced coffee drink that's so delicious. I'll make sure the recipe is linked in this podcast episode so you can enjoy it with me. But before I even eat anything, I'm getting 20 grams of protein through a protein supplement. And then I want you to focus on having your breakfast. Yes, like bringing breakfast back to the game, but having breakfast be 30 grams of protein. If you can think about each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, having about 30 grams of protein in it, then you're going to meet your mark of that 100 grams. And then that protein coffee will push you over that 100-gram mark. I'll also link one of my favorite breakfast recipes that gives you that 30 gram of protein. So it might feel overwhelming or difficult to get 100 grams in, but if you can just start with breakfast, just start with that first meal and add that protein coffee, or if you're not a coffee drinker, but you are a tea drinker, maybe you do like a protein matcha. You let me know what you end up doing, or a protein chai, iced chai. You tell me what ends up being your favorite morning beverage. But if you can really just focus on breakfast, just find one or two breakfasts that you can have on repeat. It's pretty easy to get 30 grams of protein into a smoothie. Let's not use that supplement in your smoothies. You'll save it for your protein coffee. Let's get your breakfast to be whole foods where you're getting your 30 grams of protein through food. So think smoothies, think Greek yogurt bowls topped with toasted nuts and berries. Those are my favorite breakfasts to have. So if you can just get one or two recipes that you just kind of do on repeat, that you always have the ingredients on hand, you add it to your cart, that you're always getting your grocery delivery, or it's always added to your list. The hardest part is just doing the research to make sure you're getting those 30 grams of protein in your normal go-to breakfast recipes. But once you've done that once, then you can just repeat it, knowing that you're giving yourself everything you need in terms of protein early in the morning. Nutrition anchor number 2, and that is to get 30 grams of fiber into your diet every day. This is so important for your gut health, for hormone regulation, and to reduce chronic inflammation in the body. There's so many physical and mental health benefits from continuing to reduce inflammation in the body. And increasing your fiber is one of the most nutritionally sound ways to do that. And what I love about these first two anchors is it has to do with adding food onto your plate. I am so tired of all of the nutrition information that women get, I'm just going to say, like assaulted with, that is telling them to be smaller, to restrict, to become less. And I think that midlife is all about stepping into your power, being more expansive, more free, more creative, more of yourself. And so I love nutrition advice that's going to give you the best lean muscle, the best and healthy metabolic body composition. So you're going to find this kind of really beautiful, healthy weight range for your body in this season of life. And it's going to be through eating more food. And it's going to be coming from being more intentional about planning and getting food, getting the right foods into your diet. So after this podcast episode, you might do a little like AI or Google support saying like, give me all the fiber rich foods so that I can get 30 grams of fiber into my diet every day. The reason why you want to do this is because it improves your gut microbiome diversity and function. When we do that, it's supporting our metabolism, our immune function, and our inflammation control. Fiber-rich diets are consistently linked in the research to healthy microbiome composition. And when we have this healthy microbiome composition, it supports our estrogen metabolism. So as estrogen is fluctuating, we want to do everything we can to support that process. So getting fiber-rich diets isn't going to change that hormone fluctuation, but it will support it. So there's something that Dr. Stacy Sims, who is one of my favorite thought leaders in this space, she talks about a gut hormone axis. And when we're increasing our fiber intake to 30 grams a day, it's going to help that gut hormone axis to be best supported. So fiber becomes like protective medicine in midlife, not just digestion support. It's going to help lower cholesterol, regulate and promote better blood sugar, and reduce inflammation in the body. This is really important when it comes to decreasing our risk of heart disease as I age and to try to prevent the visceral fat gain that can happen in the midsection of women. And it's not really necessarily fat you can see on the outside. It's visceral fat is the fat that's on the inside of the body against your organs. And we really want to reduce that visceral fat as much as possible. And fiber is the best way to do that. In that gut microbiome, fiber feeds the bacteria that produces the most mood supportive compounds. So if we're looking to kind of support depression and anxiety or just even the emotional mood variability that occurs in perimenopause, increasing fiber can help a lot with our mental and emotional health. That anti-inflammatory effect of fiber helps with brain fog and fatigue as well, which can be kind of exacerbated by chronic inflammation. So fiber helps lower systemic inflammation via gut health. So if this is the anchor that you're going to work on, what I recommend that you do is to not counting calories in midlife anymore. Let's throw calorie counting out the window. We want to count nutrients. We want to make sure we're getting 30 grams of fiber in our diet. So as you're just going throughout your day or going throughout your week, this first week, week one, at some point in the day, just like reflect back on the last 3 meals that you had. And it doesn't have to be perfect or exact, but try to get a good sense of how many grams of fiber you're taking in without a supplement, just through food on a day-to-day basis over the course of a week. So you can get a kind of a ball game. I think when I first tracked this, I was getting about a third. I think I was getting like 10 grams of fiber maybe. So I would recommend that you just collect a little bit of data and then think about what are the easy things I could add into my diet to get closer to that 30 gram mark. And to me, the easiest way to do that is to think about getting 10 grams of fiber in each meal. So you're thinking about getting 30 grams of protein in each meal, starting to eat 3 meals a day if you aren't already, and then pairing that 30 grams of protein with 10 grams of fiber. And again, I would just start with breakfast. Can we just get breakfast handled? Can we make sure you're getting 10 grams of fiber? And the easiest way to do that to me is in a smoothie. You can add chia seeds, you can add flax seeds, you can add hemp seeds, you can add nuts, and berries. These things are rich in fiber and will get you to that 10-gram mark really quickly. But most women underestimate how much fiber they need and overestimate how much fiber they're actually getting. So give yourself that kind of reflection week where you're starting to think about it, you're tracking it, and then see what happens if you start to really work toward that 10-gram per meal mark. Okay, the last anchor that I would recommend is that you consider getting 30 plants into your diet each and every week. So we're looking at 30 different plants. It doesn't have to be a whole serving of that plant necessarily, but we're just looking for diversity with this recommendation. We want to promote microbiome diversity, resilience, and inflammation control. A key marker of vibrant midlife health is increasing your gut microbiome diversity. So perimenopause is associated with reduced microbial diversity, and eating a wide variety of plants will feed different bacterial strains. And more diversity equals better resilience, better immune function, and better metabolic health. When you're trying to get 30 different plants into in a week's worth of time, you're going to get a wide range of polyphenols and prebiotics. So different plants contain different fibers, different polyphenols, different phytochemicals, and all of these different compounds that I just use the scientific words for will reduce inflammation, support brain health, and improve metabolic signaling. So there's not like a single superfood that you should latch onto. You just really want to think diversity is the superpower in midlife. It's a reminder that your gut microbiome influences your immune system, neurotransmitters like serotonin and mood influencing chemicals in the brain. It influences your inflammatory pathways, which influence mood and metabolic efficiency. So more plant diversity equals better kind of like whole system, mind and body integration health. You can think of it as like a diverse gut microbiome equals a more adaptable and responsive nervous system. So that would give us improved stress tolerance and emotional flexibility. So the decline and fluctuation of hormones in perimenopause reduces this gut microbiome diversity. And this nutritional strategy, this anchor number 3, 30 plants a week, will help to rebuild it. You can also think about having 30 different plants that are going to give you 30 different nutrient components. And this broader nutrient component will give you better biochemical support, which will impact your serotonin pathways in the brain, your dopamine balance in the brain, and inflammation happening in the brain. Pretty amazing that just a bunch of plants can help with all of that. So we really want to move out of that restriction, only eating a few different things. Like, does anyone remember the cayenne and lemon water diet, or just eating celery and whatever, we want to move toward expansion and nourishment as educated, compassionate, generous, and gracious women. It's not about eating less. It's about experiencing more and making yourself and your body just as important as everything else on your to-do list. That's really hard, I know, but that might be what we're working toward all together, ladies. I want you to think about it like this. Anchor number 1, 100 grams of protein. Protein gives you stability. Stability in mood, stability in energy, stability in muscle. 30 grams of fiber. Fiber brings regulation. Regulation to the gut microbiome, regulation to mood and energy, and 30 plants a week. Plant diversity builds resilience, builds expansive, generous, joyful, and playful experience of food. Stability, regulation, resilience. I think that's what most women are craving, not just physically, but kind of emotionally and spiritually too. And we can make a big investment in that when we start to become more intentional about how we're fueling our bodies. And you will see the results both in your mind and your emotional world, but physically, you're going to feel strong and capable and less sluggish and heavy, but more empowered and feel that kind of benefits of having lean muscle mass and all the nutrition that you need to support a healthy body and a healthy mind. The one that I'm currently working on this week. So this is the anchor that I'm working on. And if you want to join me with it, it's the 30 plants a week. I started this one a couple weeks ago. I just made a note in my phone and I just named it 30 plants. And as I was going throughout my week, I would just start to write down the plants. And without any intention, I was surprised myself. I think it's because I've been working on that fiber goal so much recently, but I got to like 25 plants. I was really close. But then I went on vacation and didn't worry about it, as no one should on vacation. And now I'm back and I'm kind of doing a second, just like observing and noticing week on my note right now. I started on Sundays. I got 6 plants in on Sunday. So we'll see how I do this week. And then next week, my guess is it's going to be a little bit of a lift. It's going to take a little bit more planning and intention to cross the line all the way into 30. But if you decide to take on the 30 plant challenge with me, let me know. Let me know how it goes. And I can't wait to share in the journey together. Let me know in the comments, what was the aha for you? Which one of the 3 anchors are you going to invest in this week? And can't wait to hear how the journey unfolds for you, my friend.